afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor for me to facilitate a discussion about instant and mobile payments. And I would like to invite the panelists with me today. We have a hybrid model. It's on stage and also online we have some of our guests. So please welcome Mr. Hugo Araujo from SIBS, the CEO of SIBS Romania. And also, please welcome Vlad from Viva Romania. Is Vlad, right? Paul, sorry, Paul. Welcome, Paul. And also we have with us Cătălin Crețu from Visa Romania. Also we have Ionel Dumitru, the advisor of CEO of Transfond. I will explain a bit more later. And also Mr. Jean-Philippe Jolivet, the senior marketing director of SIA. So, welcome again, and I would like to invite you to have an open discussion about payments, about mobile channels, and also the trends that you see from the side of your company about what's happening in the present right now, and what's the transition from the, let's say, COVID area to the next near future. As I promised you, I will introduce a bit more the guests because I believe they are super valuable as panelists today. So first of all, we have from Visa Mr. Cătălin Crețu, which is online. He is the general manager of Romania, Croatia, Slovenia, and Bulgaria. Just a few words about Visa. It's founded in 1958. So Visa is one of the world's largest leaders in digital payments, providing services in more than 200 countries. In 2020, their fiscal year, basically ending in September 2020, they processed over 140 billion transactions and employs over 20,000 people. So Cătălin, welcome, if you hear us.
I can hear you, thank you, and good afternoon. Very happy to be with you today.
Thank you for being with us. I know that Cătălin is just super short in time, so I'll try to use his time as much as possible. Also from SIA, we have Mr. Jean-Philippe Jolivet, which is the senior marketing advisor. A few words about SIA. It's a European leader in the design, creation, and management of technology infrastructure and services for financial institutions. They are targeting central banks, corporates, and public sector in areas of card, merchant solutions, digital payment solutions, capital market, and network solutions. In 2020, SIA processed over 17 billion transactions. Welcome, Jean-Philippe. Do you hear us?
Thank you. Thank you. I can hear you. I hope you can hear me too. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here, even if it's remotely.
It's okay. We are used to it already for 2 years. It's a normality, correct. I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. From Transfond, we have Mr. Ionel Dumitru, which is advisor to the CEO. The company was established in 2000 to modernize and automate the internet payment systems. The electronic payment system, which was part of the automated clearinghouse, went live in 2005 and was also completed in 2008 with the debit instruments and electronic processing. The infrastructure developed continued with the launch in November 2012 with the credit card transfer processing and service for payments in domestic currency and SEPA format. In 2013, it was followed by the processing of credit transfers in euro, both domestic and cross-border. Welcome, Ionel. Do you hear us? We don't hearing you. We are not hearing you, so maybe you are on mute.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be with you, even not so close, but this is it. Thank you.
Okay, I will continue with Mr. Hugo Araujo, okay, from SIBS. He's the CEO of Romania. Founded in 1983, SIBS is providing financial modern, reliable, and secure services, namely in the payments area, with more than 300 million users from different continents, processing more than 4 billion transactions annually. Welcome. And so we have Paul. I'll kindly ask you to present Viva for me because it was the latest addition for the panel. I'm sorry that I didn't have time to put few words about Viva, so it's your...
Okay, thank you. Viva Wallet is the brand that operates Viva Payment Services, which is a payment institution. And in Romania, we are offering mostly acquirings and issuing services for merchants. So we offer a Romanian IBAN, an internet banking platform, and on top of that, POS and cards for businesses.
So basically, as we discussed earlier, you are kindly offering an integrated end-to-end solution from issuing, acquiring, merchant services, and maybe some consumer services?
Not yet for consumers. We are
okay.
only addressing the SMEs sector. And yes, we try to offer a complete solution, like we promoted at the beginning, bank in a box. So you can use Viva Wallet services.
Banking in a box.
Yes.
Wow.
Instead of using a banking account. Of course, if you need more complex services, you have to address to a bank. I'm referring here to loans and other type of transaction banking.
Okay, so welcome again, each of you. I would like to start by introducing a bit the context of instant and mobile payments. So if we are looking to how the people are currently using the money they have, let's look a bit of the way that they are spending the money that they have. So basically all the debit accounts, basically how we are reaching their debit accounts. And also consumers are using the money that they will have, which is the credit that they have. So reaching the money, it's a term of, let's say, channel. And here we see cash, right? I'm having cash from my pocket. Here we are seeing cards, the most popular method so far. Here we are seeing some channels which are defined by interfaces over cards and some other channels like internet banking. We see wallets, we see some other technologies. And also, recently, we are seeing a direct link available on the market, which is the open banking. And since 2017, if I'm not mistaken, is the so-called instant payment transfer system, which is, from my point of view, the modern way of settling the merchants, not based on the batch, but in real time. So basically, it's an upgrade of a banking system, the way that I see it. So let's try to define a bit what are the instant payments that we are, let's say, talking today. Maybe some of our online guests. Cătălin.
I'm happy to go first. I think what we've seen is really a transformation of payments, and you rightly put it, instant, this fascination with instant, whether it's consumers wanting a product now or the ability, and subsequently the ability to be paid as a company, as a firm, this has gained huge traction. And I have to say it has been so much more accelerated by the past 2 years when digital was fueled by this period of sanitary crisis. So what we see is that the world has become closer connected. So people, whether they're from the same country or from across, now the diaspora is quite close to the country. So whether it's people trying to send each other money with P2P, person-to-person transfers, or whether it's businesses that want to pay each other, or whether it's a business paying their employees or paying their customers or other businesses, or whether it's governments wanting to disburse funds quickly, maybe for disaster relief purposes, or just to keep, I don't know, their citizens happy. We have a huge wave of, I would say, interest for instant payments. Just to give you a figure, in Visa in 2020, we've seen 75% growth in person-to-person. What we also register in the year 2021 ending, or financial year 2021 ending at September, we've seen 5 billion transactions globally passing through our Visa Direct that moves money instantly, up from 3.5 billion in last year. And for us, basically what we are looking at is enabling all of our cards, so 3.6 billion cards, and also the accounts that we can reach now with some of our more recent acquisitions, another 2 billion accounts. So all in all, over 5 billion endpoints that we can send money and receive money. So I would say huge interest and already significant traction in instant payments, accelerated by this crisis, but also by implementations and projects that banks and fintechs and other stakeholders participating in the ecosystem were starting to implement prior to this crisis. So as we all heard, the crisis has accelerated and has brought, I would say, consumers closer to these new methods of payments.
Just a quick question, Cătălin. When you are referring to the P2P payments, the mechanism that is facilitating those transactions is the Visa Direct, or you are combining already some of the open banking or instant payment APIs?
It's both. It's when I talk about consumers, it's Visa Direct, but we also have now facilities, another solution called B2B Connect, which connects cross-border companies that want to make these transactions. And whereas the P2P requires instantness and it happens in a matter of seconds, for businesses, what it's important is traceability and transparency. So for them, speed is not so important. So then what we call these money transfers happen by end of day, for instance, but with predictability in terms of costs and with transparency.
Okay, so basically you are saying that instant payments is more a product that is addressing the needs of the companies, or also can be used by consumers in their day-to-day operations? How do you see from Visa side?
We see and we serve consumers wanting to leverage these new solutions. We see businesses, we see governments, and we see it here in Romania as well. Just to give you some examples to localize for where we are now discussing, we have the gig economy that has gained traction, and we have companies like Uber wanting to pay their drivers in real time. We have, for instance, Romanian online merchants that Franta, my colleague, presented in a slide just a few minutes ago, that want to be able to provide instant refunds to online shoppers, which return some goods, thus increasing the trust in online e-commerce and making all of this online shopping a better experience. We also see governments that want to be able, especially in this period of time, I think governments were tested, and as a result of this have also been focusing on their ability to disburse funds instantly to their citizens, whether for disaster relief purposes or even for more mundane types of payments.
Yeah, make a lot of sense. So let's continue. Let's say expand this question to our other guests. Why instant payments? Why we are hearing so much recently about this new mechanism of disbursing the funds, like Katalin said, from the governments to companies and so on. Why instant payments? What's wrong with the existing systems like bank transfers, credit cards? Is something wrong with what we already have, or where is the need of instant payments from your point of view? Maybe Jean-Philippe?
Yes, thank you. That's a very, very interesting question. I don't think there is anything wrong in any means of payments. I think there is a different way of using them, a different use cases, and maybe different sensitivity from people in order to choose a means of payments. And that's also sometimes a cultural aspect, because you see some countries where cards will be heavily used, for instance, to pay on the internet, and some other countries, I'm thinking about Germany, for instance, where they will use credit transfers. So what is happening is if you use a credit transfer on the internet, we'll make a very concrete example. I want to buy something. I want to buy it with a credit transfer. What will happen is the merchant will have to wait until tomorrow, if it's a working day, or if I buy today, we are on a Friday, the merchant will have to wait until next Monday to see the money on their account, and they will ship my good on Monday. So I will lose 2 days before I receive my purchase. If I make an instant payment on the internet website of the merchant will see immediately the money on the account, and they will send they can ship my good immediately. So that's a very, very interesting example of what of a use case that is useful for consumers. Another one is P2P, the classical case of having eating at a restaurant with friends, and one pays for everybody else. You may pay by cards, actually. It's not, we're not talking about the need of paying by instant payment, but I can use an instant payment to make a P2P payment to pay my share of the bill. So that's an interesting way of doing it. If we look at corporates sometimes and very often do not really need to have an instant payment. If you make an invoice and the invoice is payable in 90 days, why should you need an instant payment? It's not really necessary. You can do it, and there is absolutely no problem, but it doesn't bring a big advantage. The difference is, for instance, if you want to if a corporate needs to ship something on behalf of another corporate, so that a shipping company, they will wait until they receive the money on the account before they can ship that. And it's a bit the same as for the merchant for the e-commerce use case. And so this is very, very interesting for that, because you speed up and it saves at least 1 day for these corporates, and that's very important in terms of treasury and in terms also on time to market, because if the ship starts 1 day earlier, then it's you save 1 day, and that's very, very, very useful. Another example is cash pooling. You use in a corporate different accounts. With an instant payment, you can move money from one account to the other very easily, and you can have a very useful, a very effective way of managing your money.
So basically, we can easily say that instant payments are an upgrade of traditional bank transfers.
That's correct, and that can be, or that needs to be integrated into the ecosystem, the retail ecosystem, because if you want to pay at a merchant, it's not easy. If you have to ask the IBAN of the merchant to make the payment, it will never work. So you have to integrate it at the point of interaction. You have to use, for instance, a QR code in order to put together the information, the data from the merchant and the data from the current account of the consumer. And so, which is what we do with in the card business. We have a POS. We put the card, or we tap the card in a contactless way. On the POS, there is an exchange of data, everything is put together, the transaction is built and performed. And that's exactly the same with instant payment. And that, for instance, what we've developed in SIA with the Jiffy solution, which is adopted by the Bancomat scheme in Italy. This is an instant payment infrastructure that allows you to pay at merchants or make P2P transfers very easily from your current account to the other account.
Yeah, for the P2P scenario, I can fully understand. So it's something that I will use immediately. But to pay at the point of sale, I will still challenge the scenario, mainly because the credit cards are like light speed. It's just present the card and that's it. Moreover, Apple Pay and Samsung Pay managed to, let's say, remove the required PIN on any kind of transaction amount. So basically, it's just one tap and I paid my shopping. Could instant payment somehow get this kind of, let's say, scenario in the near future? Because currently, either e-commerce offline, I don't see it, honestly, for the moment at least, but online, I'm required somehow to provide access to some third-party systems or to log into my internet banking or do some additional steps. So is it feasible for this kind of scenario to use instead of my credit card? Because you might say that it's maybe safer to use the internet banking, the bank account, but nowadays most of the banks are offering virtual cards, so I can define a virtual card. Maybe Paul can explain us more here. Basically, I'm super secure. I have my benefits because my chargeback protection is there with the cards. So again, there are some scenarios so definitely is required, this instant payment mechanism, but still at the point of sale when you are, let's say, a merchant that are, let's say, expected to receive payment, the credit or the wallet is still the king. Paul, what do you think?
Yes, indeed, you touch some very good points related to how customers want to pay at the point of sales. Indeed, now the preferred method is a card, and not only because it's fast. We should mention that the card schemes have the chargeback institution, how I call it.
Some protection.
So is that protection that makes the comfort for the buyer, especially in online, because there you can have some risks. So indeed, for a consumer, there is not a real need to switch from the card payment to IBAN transfers. But in the future, I believe that this will happen anyway, perhaps with the help of the international cards organizations, because in the end, every card has an IBAN. so when those two will be linked, in terms of structure, regulation, then you can do it IBAN to IBAN. So if you apply the same logic, but it has to be linked. Currently, they are not linked. What I would like to say about instant payments, indeed they apply mostly to businesses. And as we were talking before, we don't see it as a revolution, in Romania at least, for domestic transfers. But for international transfers, yes, there is the real need for
cross-border.
Yes,
for
cross-border. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to pay a company today, you have 3 cutoffs, as I know, in Transfond, so you can do it the same day.
The maximum, yeah.
Yeah, and in 1 hour, in 2 hours. So anyway, you can say it's almost instant, and companies don't really need instant payments. Yeah, but for a cross-border transaction, I think that is the revolution, indeed, in instant payments.
Okay, let's ask our other guests, maybe Hugo wants to explain more. How do you see, from your perspective, this new way of payment? Where is applicable? How do you approach it? If you have already integrated some projects, can you? And then I will ask Ionel as well to help us, because I know that Transfond is developing already some solutions.
Yes, SIBS Group, I can give a wider vision. SIBS Group is somehow working on instant payments since 2006 and 2017. We launched our platform live in around 2019, meaning we didn't see in this first few years or in the first year that much adoption. But we did see in the last, let's say, year and a half on a post-COVID environment, some use cases that were not well addressed through the legacy solutions, that somehow COVID also accelerated the usage of these instant payments. So I see instant payments in two angles. The first one is these first volumes and this first wave of growth of instant payments is mainly addressing problems that were not solved, mainly on the merchant side, not on the consumer side, mainly on the merchant side. Of course.
Can you describe, sorry, a bit the problems? Can you touch the problems?
Yes,
as well?
meaning, I think it was Jean-Philippe already give an example on this, meaning in a use case of, for example, in e-commerce, or meaning on the real world, on a case that you somehow need to deliver something to a final consumer, meaning with an instant payment, the merchant gets more, let's say, insurance rather than a typical payment method. On the other hand, meaning I believe that meaning the instant payments is the future solution that will substitute all legacy solution, meaning it's a matter of scale and volume. It will get there. What I'm saying is that the traditional credit transfers, direct debits and platforms will migrate at some point for instant payments, the instant payments platform. So one angle is, meaning in this first wave of growth, it's solving problems more on the merchant side rather than on the consumer side, that's specific use cases. But there will be a second wave where meaning the traditional credit transfer will be migrated at some point for the instant payment rails, because meaning the world is becoming faster and instant, yeah. So that's when, meaning generally speaking, that's how I see it, the evolution. I still see one problem in instant payments adoption is that generally in the majority of countries this is priced as premium, yeah. And priced as premium, you need to have a problem to solve to pay this premium extra a month. But this is also a matter of volumes that at some point will get there and entering new use cases and somehow substituting the previous traditional, let's say, clearinghouse rails. We have in SIBS an interesting case, meaning it was already commented that somehow we see the future as connecting the car world with the account world. And basically, I do agree here with Paul that a card is a token of meaning of an account, and I do believe that there will be a convergence on this. We are probably in a stage we are starting to use virtualized cards, but I believe that there will be the next wave and very fast where we will dematerialize cards. And when you have dematerialized cards, this means that you'll have a token, yeah. So that's the way I see it in a few years from now. Giving you a specific examples and connecting also with mobile payments, which is also a topic of our panel. We as SIBS, we developed a wallet 10 years ago, or start to develop a wallet 10 years ago, investing heavily on this. We didn't see any meaning strong adoption in the first 5 years or so. But in the last years, it starts to somehow, there was a tipping point. And the tipping point was in the moment that the P2P transfer that was in that wallet was an instant payment. Yeah. And right now we have, just in the Portuguese market, an adoption of nearly 4 million users in this wallet. And the key point and the key transaction till now in that wallet is the P2P, which is an instant payment or like instant transfer. Yes, immediately you have money available in your account. Yeah, in next moment. The second, and this was key for development of this wallet. The second, wave of growth was with e-commerce. The tipping point of e-commerce in terms of volumes was obviously after COVID, meaning it accelerates a lot in COVID. But lately, what we are seeing is that these pandemics brought this disruption, meaning this extraordinary growth or extra growth in payments in the last couple of years. And somehow we see that, meaning the usage, even in physical shops of this wallet, is increasing is based on a QR code payments. That's meaning somehow the way of using mobile payments that is being more successful around the world. Somehow this brought an extra volume to it. So we are seeing here a fast convergence of both worlds, the card world and the instant payments world. And I believe that, to summarize that, meaning first, instant payments will bring volume, solving use case problems in specific use case, but on a second stage, they will basically accommodate all the volumes of the traditional, let's say, transfer rails, and in a third wave, there will be a convergence with cars. Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Lionel, can you please, because you are developing a lot of solutions for payments infrastructure, mainly for the banks in Romania, can you, let's say, put some more light in this? Why instant payments? Are you somehow accelerating? Do you see any trends? Can you provide some use cases? Please, the stage is yours.
We believe that the instant payments, as we understand it, I mean, as account-to-account transfer, instant transfer, could be used in any situations of our life, I mean, in payments. But for this is a new ecosystem is needed, as was underlined previously. So nowadays there are a lot to do to get instant payments to shops, as an example, but even in e-commerce and so on. It is obviously is not very easy now, but instant payments has a lot of advantages for consumers and shops as well. Well, what we actually did was instant payments platform for interbank space. So as a clearing and settlement mechanism, this is our area of servicing. We are kind of infrastructure that helps banks to send and receive messages. We are validating, providing clearing and settlement, and so on. Well, we started this in 2019 with two banks. At the beginning was kind of bilateral than multilateral clearing, and after that, by the end of the year, another two banks joined, so there were four, and then the pandemics, and nothing happened until this year when we got the fifth bank.
So it's something so much difficult for the banks to let's say join these instant payment systems that you are offering or some other providers. Why is it taking so long for the banks to join this so-called revolution?
Well, we understood that it's not so easy for most of them, and it was a kind of overlapping of different other projects with, let's say, compliance base. I mean, a lot of projects for open banking, digitalization, and so on, and the banks were seeing these projects as more with much priority than I believe. Otherwise, I cannot find another explanation, because before we start, we asked the community about the feasibility opportunity of this movement, and we got some good answers from most of them, and when we committed and well, the adoption was not so quick, let's say, for most of them.
So you are saying that the systems are there, but the adoption, let's say, rate is or speed is not as we expected, or there are
No,
still some difficulties.
Yeah, the service exists and it works very well. The speed is great, is amazing. I mean, we process in milliseconds inside our
No, I was referring to adoption speed from
adoption,
the
yeah,
banking system.
Yeah, it is. But we hope that all things will evolve quickly next year when 4 big banks will join. And now we have four, 5 banks. Another one will join this year. I mean, I think at the start of the next month. And in 2022, another 4 big banks will join. And this will be kind of early majority that will provide a critical mass. And well, what is to be observed with this group of 5 is that inside the group, the payments between the banks reach value of value percent of 30% of payments are migrated to instant payments.
From the banks that you are serving.
Yes. The payments between them.
Okay.
So this is very good. And one bank migrate with something like over 70%, which is really good. So that means that a lot of clients are using this service, and they are satisfied with the speed and convenience and so on, and they really see that could be done not even in intra-bank space or in other fintechs environments, but even in interbank space.
So once adopted, you are saying that the banks are happy with the system.
Not only the banks, but the
ecosystem
as well.
Paul, you are trying to say something?
I have a question related to the cost. I'm curious, is it significantly higher, the pricing for these instant payments? Or it's irrelevant?
Actually, no, we just cut the price. I mean, it's actually instant payments is the cheapest product we provide.
Yeah, so
just with this purpose to give a reason to motivate the banks, give an incentive to join. And there are reserves to reduce the cost as well. But this depends on the volumes, we all know that. And we know that once the instant payments will reach the merchants and will be available in shops and in e-commerce, the volume will grow. Because nowadays we don't provide services for this space.
Yeah, definitely the transactions are growing. Hugo was mentioning earlier that they saw a lot of growth in their systems. Also, in the same time, 2020 was a difficult year for the entire industry. Consumers migrated massively to the online system, so they purchased mainly online. So we saw here 2 digits growth, but overall the transactions saw a small increase, at least according to Visa annual report. So I would like to ask Cătălin, because they see globally how the transactions are mixed nowadays. How was seen to 2020 from their side, and what's the trend currently in terms of consumer preferences, in terms of channels, and the mix of payment methods? If you please, Cătălin.
I think what I can say is, from our perspective, we believe we didn't let a crisis go to waste. um, because despite the low number of transactions in terms of growth, and this varies by continent, I can say in Europe we've seen quite strong growth. But of course, in terms of processed transactions, once the lockdowns happened, face-to-face transactions were contactless. It was a major factor in accelerating and increasing the number of transactions processed. So once the lockdowns affected the lives of consumers, face-to-face transactions decreased. It's true, payments moved in a massive way in online, and I can say in Europe, 20 markets registered over 40% growth in e-com, in online transactions and value transacted. Romania being one of them, Romania being a champion in terms of online payments. But the number of transactions diminished because in online people pay on average higher purchases and with less frequency. So despite the smaller growth in terms of number, we've seen quite a strong continued growth, especially in growth in emerging markets like Eastern Europe, in particular Romania, where the growth not only exceeded 2019, but exceeded it substantially in 2019, which was a normal year. So in growth in emerging markets, and especially here I'm referring to our region, we've seen very strong growth. It's true, it moved into online. It moved in a massive way in terms of mobile payments, where again, I can say that Romania is at the top of the hierarchy in terms of mobile payments penetration in face-to-face transactions, because people wanted to continue to pay, wanted, in a way, safer, in a sanitary way, so, less touch, and hence contactless and mobile payments gained traction in a major way. And also what we've done is we paved the way for the future. I wanted to also react to one of the comments that Paul made, that one of the pain points for instant payments, which again was a major winner of this period of time, was the fragmented, let's say, rails network. There's the cards rails, there's the account to account rails, and now if you want, blockchain is something, and crypto, that's coming up and increasingly considered by mainstream consumers. We are moving as Visa from card payments and consumer card payments company to a company that wants to be seen as participating and facilitating the movement of money. And that is done through card rails, but also through account to account. And Visa is now adopting ISO 2022, the newest standard in terms of account-to-account real-time payments. And basically, what we want to do is to become increasingly agnostic whether we facilitate the movement of money on card rails or on account-to-account rails. And on account-to-account, the real-time payments, we want to focus on the applications layer, where we support fintechs and collaborate with fintechs in improving the end-use experience, the user experience, and also on the layer, on the service layer, where we can enrich the transaction via tokenization, authentication, and analytics and cybersecurity. So I think two things, we've seen continued growth, and we've seen it where we didn't see, where in online, where growth was even before the pandemic growing very nicely, but now we're seeing this movement to online purchases in a massive way. We don't see the penetration of card payments in the sales of online merchants, but you know very well in this market, the largest online merchant was stating last year that their penetration increased from 30% before the pandemic to over 50% during the pandemic. And we want to maintain these healthy rates of penetration and maintain this rate of growth for online payments. So a lot of acceleration. We're now seeing online payments becoming mainstream. We're starting to see mobile payments becoming mainstream increasingly. And to end it, why also is happening now? It's because the technology is at this point ready. It's nothing wrong with card rails or card payments, but we do have the technology now to accelerate payments towards the instant, let's say, mode. And we see increasingly needs being served by this new types of payments. So we are resolving certain problems.
Yeah,
Yes.
we are living fantastic times. I fully agree here. Technology is ready, and basically we cannot be bored in our office. Speaking about mobile payments, currently China is generating 80% of the entire mobile markets, globally speaking. What's happening in China? What's different there than is not in the rest of the world? And I mean, in US and UK are the other markets that are trying to follow China, but they are far, far behind. China is 80% of the entire world. I mean, what's happening there? What's different? Maybe
China went mobile first, and this is the advantage of going mobile first. And to some extent, there are some specifics of that market that allowed for these giants that we all know, Alibaba, Tencent, to become ecosystems whereby a huge array of needs of the consumers could be served inside these ecosystems. And the key to all of these services is the mobile device. So I think not only they leaped directly into mobile, but the ecosystem is in such a manner built that it facilitated this mobile penetration with a different set of regulations, different set of, let's say, focus of the regulator. And yes, this is where they are now in China.
So basically, we can say that they've built a system with let's say, completely different mindset. So they tried to build for themselves. They didn't look what's on the market, what are the technologies providers, because we are seeing here, look, we have SIBS, we have SIA, we have Visa. So basically, I'm trying to build something by combining some vendors. But in China, somehow, they tried to, let's say, solve their problems by building their own solutions. So that's...
Well, they build mini worlds, Daniel, because all of these, the names that I mentioned, basically, you don't need to get out of these ecosystems. You can pay, you can socialize, you have music, you have everything in there, not just payments, the whole experience, which I think in other more regulated markets would not be possible. And I'm not sure that you would want someone like that to basically control every aspect of a consumer's life or a
there
business's life.
was
So
no Visa
it's a different type
China.
of ecosystem.
Yeah. So basically, what happened there? You are saying that they used to have the mobiles, and basically they just kept the mobiles with a payment option, and just happened.
I think they also leapfrog, meaning here in Europe you have a situation that from year to year you start by using cash, then you start with cards, and we are starting to use mobile wallets. In China, what is happening is that they are leapfrogging and they are jumping directly for mobile, because meaning for them mobile first. It's in every sector, in every industry. So they leapfrog faster than in
So they just jumped.
They just jumped for the final solution. This also helped.
They had cards. They had union cards. It was quite a mature market for union cards.
Yeah, but they have union cards. I mean, they do have the schemes.
They had cards. So it's interesting
they still have Union Pay. They still exist. They have a minority. They are less share of the market than Alipay and WeChat Pay. Yeah.
Yes, but Union Pay is not relevant right now. comparative with the mobile payments transactions.
Right,
Union Pay is
right.
not relevant.
Well, Union Pay has more cards than any other scheme in the world.
They are the
So
biggest,
I'm sorry
right.
Comparative
for
with
Catalan,
Visa.
but,
That's
Comparative with Visa, yes, but in terms of
We're looking
transactions
at
volumes,
volumes always. not
No,
just
that's
the number
correct.
of
the reason that I'm bringing up China is not about to discuss about the vendors. If we are let's say, able to understand why China is generating so much volumes, then we may apply it in our businesses, right? Because if imagine that 80% of the mobile is happening in China. Why? So it's not about Visa and Union Pay, it's about their mentality. So once they jumped into mobile and they use mobile like we are using the light in the morning, then yes, we can be there. So basically, if we are, let's say, providing the technology that is the right technology, then they don't look for some other technologies. Can be a way.
it is a more versatile technology, definitely. And we will see signs in Europe with PSD2.
Science, but
Yeah.
80%.
We see signs already, but let's see 5 years. I can bet with any of you that the picture of the market will be different in 5 years from now in Europe and US.
Which
I
brings
can
me...
bet with any of you. Yeah, it will be changed. There is a gentleman raising the hand.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
I would just like
Please.
to say that mobile payment is less relevant in Europe or in the Western world compared to China. But I think we don't really need a mobile to pay with a card. I mean, my plastic card is perfectly fine. If I tap my mobile, it's fine too. There's no great difference. Hearing Visa's presentation just before this panel, we are going towards a more environment-friendly world. So we will probably scrap the plastic card and we will have the card on the mobile. So mobile payment will be the reality. What's happening with instant payment is it's only mobile basically, because you have to use it. You have to use your mobile to access it. You can use it with a QR code. You can use it with NFC for those phones that allow it to be used. But that we will see a growth of the mobile. But I would not compare the. I wouldn't say that it's better in China because everything is mobile compared to ours. It's just a different way of using the. Somebody talking?
It's not Chinese.
China just jumping into the discussion.
Exactly.
They were interfering, maybe.
So,
I
gents,
have to apologize. I need to leave. Thank you and good luck.
Catalin, thank you so much.
Catalin. Bye.
Bye.
So, gents, we have 5 more minutes. I would like to, let's say, pop up a question just to give us some, let's say, feeling about your vision about the future. How would you define the payment method of the future by combining what we are observing today? Mobile, instant, 1-second tapping payment. How should look like the next level of the payment methods? Hugo? Paul?
I would like to go, first I want to tell something about the China case.
1 minute, please, because
30 seconds. I think it's about the QR there, because they started something simple and they link to...
It's very simple.
Yeah.
That's one of them, yeah.
The genius is in simplicity. The QR, I think, it's the main, factor that brought to that, easiness. As a side joke, you know that beggars in China have a QR code like we have here.
Yeah, and I
you can
suppose that
pay-
it's also super cheap as well. So basically, they are combining the simplicity of the credit cards with the cost of the instant
So
payments,
if
right?
you see a beggar
I was
with a
trying
QR
to.
code, then I think that is the reason. How I see the future of payment in stores, because let's refer to this, because there are some differences between paying in store and paying an invoice or making an international transfer. I would see it as total frictionless. I mean, you will just need to be there somehow. So in this
So
new,
frictionless.
yeah, in this new era of digitalization and biometrics authentication and something like this, perhaps in 10 years from now on, you'll just need to to keep your eyes open, because somebody will scan your
So one of the
retina.
keys would be authentication, basically, to move forward.
So no, your presence there will be the authentication. So everything will be connected, your account, your cards. Maybe you'll be asked to do something to select a payment method. No, I don't know. Click once or something. So this is the future. And we can see it already. It was prepared for the panel that I was, but let's say now we have an example like this. It's called the Amazon grocery stores from London. So I think that is the future.
Invisible payment.
Yeah, like I know, it's my idea. You just have to be there. And they say just walk out. I said just be there.
Thank you so much. Hugo?
I will just to add, I also believe that needs to be seamless and frictionless, sure. But to imagine the payment of future in store, we need also to imagine what will be the stores of the future. And I think we need to have that, a trend that is already happening, which is to be omni-channel, seamless and frictionless, but omni-channel, yeah? So that you can buy physically, get it back online, buy online and get it back in a physical store, meaning that will be important. And I do agree that we are going through a wave of invisible payments. That's meaning how the industry is calling this trend. And where the customer journey is completely, or where the payment is completely invisible, basically. You enter the store, you buy something, you just left the store, and the payment was done behind. Yeah.
So I'm receiving a report at the end of the day. Daniel, you just paid here
Exactly.
and here and
if
here.
you pay with your mobile or a mobile phone or some chip or meaning biometrics or something like this, it's indifferent. But what matters is that experience. You don't need to stop. You don't need to use something physical. Right now we are using mobile, but in the future you might have something with you. Yeah.
Jean-Philippe, Lionel, what do you think about the future of the payment method of the future?
Lionel, would you like to go first?
Well, they sound good, I think. And I also have this kind of dreams for the futures with you just travel and payments are made automatically and no reason to stop. Well, I believe that, however, instant payments will have a place in the future wallets. So there will be actually a matter of choice. There will be so many, and probably the mobile will choose the right way to pay in different instances. And well, I believe that. And I forgot you asked me about what we are doing now, about what applications. And we developed two good things. I mean, one is Alias Pay, is a proxy database, proxy service for P2P transactions, as to be able to send money to a mobile number. And another confirmation of the payee in the purpose of identifying the beneficiary that is hidden by the IBAN, just to know before sending money who the beneficiary really is. So, well, the future sounds good, and instant payments is there.
Thank you so much. Jean-Philippe?
Yes, I agree with everything that my colleagues have said, and frankly, what I see in the future is not, for instance, instant payment replacing card. I will see cards still having a big play, because you have so many features that it's difficult to replace, especially in a short time, in such a short time. 10 years seems many, but it's very short. It's difficult to replace them and have them all in an instant payment solution. So what I see is there will be more integration. There will be this convergence. Maybe you will use your card in some cases and you will use instant payment in others. Everything will be smooth, and with any kind of this device, you will have the same user experience, and that's good. Which means that we will have built the ecosystem that Paul was saying was missing with the chargebacks. There will have to be chargebacks. There will have to be the instant payment must be free for the consumer, and obviously the merchant will have to pay its share. So that's the way I see it, and that's happening in Europe. I was talking about Bancomat Pay in Italy with the Bancomat schemes. We're also doing that in another country in Europe, starting to build it. An ecosystem where all the banks are working together with the merchants and the consumers in order to make instant payment, and request to pay also is something that we are building currently. We've launched with the ABA clearing. Request to pay is one of the features that is necessary for instant payment to be more efficient and usable by consumers.
Yeah, I fully agree on that. I'm really sorry that we didn't have time to cover this mechanism as well. So, gents, thank you so much. We are looking forward to see more, let's say, results in authentication to go into the direction of invisible payment, seamless, and much more improved experience for the consumer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.